Hello, you guys. Welcome back to Lily Reads. I am never here when I film these videos, but my office is in shambles. I'm extending my bookshelf, so I can't be upstairs in my office, but I wanted to come and start this video. This video, as you can tell by the title, is a book of the month video, but it is not sponsored by Book of the Month. I have never accepted a Book of the Month sponsorship for this channel. Now, over on my As Told by Kenya channel, where I do pop culture and talk about topics, I have done a Book of the Month sponsorship. And I have been, in the past year and a half, more intentional about the sponsorships that I take. If I would not use something, if I have not used something, spent my own money on something, I do not take the sponsorship. For example, over on my As Told by Kenya channel, I only sponsored with HelloFresh and Audible last year, and I think I did Casetify, and those are three places I already have spent my own money on. You can check the receipts. I have purchased HelloFresh with my own money, not having a sponsorship. I use Audible, and I've purchased Casetify cases with my own money. And so when I started this book channel, I got offers to do Book of the Month, and I said, let's see, is Book of the Month worth using if I'm spending my own money? Because I only want to put my name beside something I would put my hard-earned money towards. So at the beginning of 2021, I started a Book of the Month subscription. I started a Book of the Month subscription, and I went in and I picked my books every single month. I am going to be 100% honest with you. Picking your Book of the Month book every single month was some of the most exciting times of my life. I had so much fun seeing the options that they have, because when you sign up for Book of the Month, I paid for a year-long subscription because I knew I was going to keep it for a year. And basically they gave me 12 credits, and you can use those credits to buy books, and you can also add on books with your credits. So if you start with 12 credits, you could actually get 2 books in 1 month, but that does mean you may not be able to choose a book another month because you're going to run out of credits. You know what I'm saying? So that is how it works. I loved going in and picking a book. It did not matter if I wanted the book or if I liked the books. I love picking out the book. So if you are someone who just likes to see what's the best book, someone giving you options and you picking the best one, Book of the Month is for you. I found that to be so exciting. When it comes to the shipping of Book of the Month, I never had an issue with shipping. There was one book, and it was Upgrade. Upgrade did take a long time to get to my home because a lot of people picked it. I believe it was Upgrade. One book that month took like a month to get to my house because a lot of people picked it, and it was an issue. But other than that, shipping was absolutely no problem. The books got to my house in no time. The first of every single month, the options were ready for you to choose. And when it came to the options that they had, I felt like they had good options because it is a subscription box and they are trying to appeal to, everyone. It's not going to be very niche. It's not going to be, people who get it, very underground books. They're going to have popular books, but they also do have some options, some things that slip your mind. Book of the Month really kept me in touch with what was coming out, but I do have to do some cons. So those are the pros. It kept shipping was great. Picking your book was so much fun. And it kept me in the know of what was coming out, and I felt like they had a good selection. The con, because I had so much fun picking out the books, I'd pick anything. I'd pick books that I would never really read. I would pick because it was an option, and that causes a lot of waste. Have you guys ever went on Pango Books, thrift store books, or just went to a place that resells books that people donate or stuff? You see a lot of Book of the Month books, and that has opened my eyes to possibly the amount of waste that Book of the Month kind of puts into the books the book ecosystem, the book buying ecosystem, a lot of secondhand books come from book of the month. A lot of people are getting rid of book of the month books. And I think that has to play a part with you picking a book, not knowing if you're actually going to like it. You may have never heard about it before, but it's a book of the month option. So you pick it, but then either you never read it because you were never that interested in it to begin with, or it was never your taste. You read it and did not like it. So saying that, I think book of the month is really good for people who have like no book collection. Like I have so many books that I can read. So it was never a priority to read the book of the month book. But if you're someone who's like, I just want one book to read a month. I just want to read 12 books a month. And so I just want to have one book that's like, I have it, read it. Book of the month would be perfect for that because you'll get the book and you'll read it, and the purpose of the subscription box would make a lot more sense to you. And I think you wouldn't be as ready to like unhaul it without reading it, or reading it and unhauling it. That is what I think, because I see so many, you guys don't even know how many times I've ordered a book from thrift store books and it's a book of the month book. Or I love watching people unhaul books. You don't know how many times someone will unhaul books, and the books that they're unhauling are book of the month books. So I do believe that book of the month books cause a lot of waste, and you end up, acquiring a lot of books that you really wouldn't. Like that's 12 books. That's 12 books in the year, like that you may not even like. So that's my biggest gripe with book of the month. I don't know if it's sustainable after a while, like doing it year after year after year. I don't know how sustainable it is. Okay, so I'm going to run through and show you the books that I chose every single month. It's 12 books, so let's get through them quick. We have Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I thought this was the best book to get in a given month, and so I got that book. The next one is Jacqueline in Paris. Never heard of this book before. It was on book of the month, so I saw it, bought it. The next thing I got was The Fortunes of Jaded Women. Yes, the first time I heard about this was on book of the month, but I'm pretty sure I would have heard about this book without book of the month. The next thing we have is Hester. This first time I saw this book was also on book of the month, but I also think I would have heard about this book if not for book of the month, but I got it in book of the month. The next thing we have is You're Invited. I already knew about this book, and I went out of my way to pick this book on book of the month. Then we have Someday Maybe. I already had heard about this book, and I wasn't going to buy it, but I saw that it was an option for book of the month, and so I just picked it up. We have 5 more. Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. This is a book that I had not intended on buying, but because it was a book of the month pick, I was just like, might as well get it now because, hey, I know I am going to eventually read it. I just thought I would read it on Kindle or pick up the audio book, but since it was a book of the month pick, I was just like, might as well do it. Next we have Tomorrow. This is some people's favorite book of the year. I 100% believe this was a good pickup by book of the month. Me picking it, I went out of my way to get it. Everyone went out of their way to get this book that month. But even though a lot of people were picking this book still came relatively quickly. So yeah, I picked up that. When We Were Bright and Beautiful, maybe this was the book that took forever and a day to get here. I don't remember, but I picked this book up. This is, I think, the first book I got from book of the month, and it was Breathless. Yeah, picked up this, and then the last book I picked up was The Lifestyle. We are going to get to the reading section of this video, but I do want to say, out of all of these books, I would say only like 4 of them I probably would have picked up and spent my own money on. And those 4 would probably be Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I would have bought Upgrade myself because I saw so many people buy it. So I would have got Upgrade myself. And probably When We Were Bright and Beautiful, I would have paid my own money for. And You're Invited. Let me get it. You're Invited, I would have paid my own money for as well. Everything else, I really wasn't pressed to read. Some of these books I do think were honestly like bad picks. Like I should not have picked them up. I don't know why I did. I'm going to start with Jacqueline in Paris. I think I will like this book. It's just not anything I was rushing to read, so it makes no sense for why I picked it. It's a book that, like, if someone, I'm just not pressed to read it, so probably wouldn't have bought it. The next one is Hester. Like, I don't have any interest. The cover is absolutely beautiful, but I just have no desire to read it anytime soon. And that's probably it. I remember forcing myself to buy this one as well. It's just something that it didn't call to me. I probably would really like this book as well. It's just, I have so many books on my bookshelf that are like this that I've been putting off reading. So this is just another thing to add to the pile. So like I said in my cons about book of the month, it causes you to just hoard a lot of books if you don't get to them every single month. And I can't blame book of the month for that. I have to blame myself that I just hoard a lot of books. And so I have so many books to get to. But the reason why this is going to be a reading video, I can't tell you if even I wasted my money or not, because I have not read any of these. I intentionally did not read any of these books last year. I didn't want to either, but I intentionally didn't because I wanted to see, is it even worth the money for like the obvious reason? Are the books that I choose even good? So I am going to read 5 of my 12 options. I already showed you guys 3 books that I probably already know I should not have purchased. They were impulse. I got excited. I probably should have skipped these months and let the credits roll over because no. I should not have bought these books. The next thing is You're Invited. I went out of my way to get this book because I wanted to spend my own money on, but I also didn't need to buy this book. So I'm not going to read it for this video because I feel like, it's just not. Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I should have read this book immediately because this book has such terrible reviews. And I've not heard a single person say they like this book. I've not heard a single person say they like this book. So this book is actually a book that I'm already ready to unhaul. I'm not going to go out of my way, read a genre that I usually don't read from an author I've never read before, and people who have read from this author already don't like the book. So there's just no point in me, like, it's in my read it or unhaul pile, so I still might get to it. It's just, it has one foot out of the door. So that leaves 6 books. You have The Fortunes of Jaded Women. I'm just not in the mood. Maybe I am in the mood. We'll see what we get to in this video, because these are the books that I want to read for this video. So I just added The Fortunes of Jaded Women to this pile because something about it, I kind of am in the mood for. So we might get to this book, this video. This is a might. But the 5 that I know we're going to read for this video is Love on the Brain by Allie Hazelwood. I'm interested. I have to know. I've heard so many mixed reviews about this book. I have to know the gossip. I have to know what's going on in this book. The next thing we are going to read is The Lifestyle. Since this book came from Book of the Month, I have wanted to read it. It's up my alley. It seems chiclety. I want to read it. Can't wait to do it for this video. Tomorrow. I really hope this book does not let me down. People I respect love this book. This book won the best book of the year by Book of the Month. I want to read and love this book so fucking bad. And so we're going to read it for this video. I'm so excited. The next thing we have is When We Were Bright and Beautiful. I want to read it. Don't know what it's about, but I want to read it. And last, of course, we're going to read a thriller. Breathless. We're going to read Breathless. So these are the 5 books we're definitely going to read in this video. And we're going to see once and for all is book of the month worth the money for me? If these are winners, it's worth the money. If I could get 6 winners out of something I paid like $100 for, I think that is worth it. They're hardback. Another con about book of the month, the coin. I don't like the coin. I don't like the coin. I think the coin on the side is fine. The coin on the front, I think that's another reason why people are quick to unhaul book of the month books. I've seen people love a book of the month book and rebuy it rebuy the book so they don't have to have the coin. The coin is a little tacky. The coin is a little tacky on the book of the month books. So yeah. I'm going to show you guys the book of the month box and how everything comes. Keep in mind, this video is not sponsored. Book of the month has not paid me $1 to do this. I want to see is book of the month worth the money. I have put my own money. I can't tell you to pay for something that I wouldn't pay for myself. So I am a regular consumer. I went, put in my credit card information and bought these books. So let's see if these books are good. Guys, the entire time I know you're yelling at your screen. Kenya, you said 12 books. Killers of a Certain Age. I've also picked up Killers of a Certain Age. This was a book that I wanted to pick up. I would have picked up without book of the month. So it was great that this was an option for book of the month. I've already read this book, so that's why I literally was forgetting about it. I've already read this book. I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. I didn't read it for a video. I just read it on my own time because I knew it wasn't going to be a book I was going to read in this video. So I think that's a win. I think that's a win. I had a fun time with this book. It didn't fully hit the mark for me, but that's a win for me. I think this goes into the win column. Okay, you guys, so I decided to start this vlog off by reading The Lifestyle by Taylor Hahn. I am enjoying the hell out of this book. I had to come on here and tell you guys about it just so I don't finish without telling you guys about it. So this book follows a woman. I would describe her as like the mother of her friends. I feel like every friend group has like a mother figure, someone who pretty much has their life figured out. They're the stable friend, and this friend tries to guide everyone in the right direction. That is our main character. I don't know her age specifically, but I believe she's in like her mid-30s. She is married. She is an attorney. She likes her job. She has a pretty decent apartment, an apartment in New York City that probably only like 10% of the people in America could probably afford. So she's doing well for herself. Her husband is an attorney. He's a high-powered attorney. So she's doing really well for herself. But she's been having some thoughts about her own life. She's thinking to herself a little bit like, maybe I should want more out of life. Me and my husband kind of have like stale sex. Our sex life is very vanilla. It's not like I'm unhappy, but no, I'm not thrilled with everything in my life. Well, one day, she wants to surprise her husband, have a little sexy night with her husband. So she wants to meet him at his office and have a good sexy night with him. You know, be spontaneous. She walks in and her husband is cheating on her. And so from that, she's like, either I need to leave my husband or I need to figure out how to make my marriage better. And through some advice from her well-intentioned friends, she decides to become a swinger. She is going to be a swinger. Her and her husband, who has cheated on her, they are going to set out and try to have sex with other couples and other people. And that is what this story is about. It's so good. This is just my type of book. The main character is very, very flawed. And when it comes to like, you know, when I say chick lit, I do not mean it in a derogatory way. I mean it with the most like affection. I love chick lit. I do not mean it like derogatory in a mean way, a pejorative. I think chick lit is just an amazing genre where it's just like a girl doing stuff, girls finding themselves. I wouldn't necessarily say women's fiction because I feel like women's fiction, where the crawdad sings is women's fiction. You know, women's fiction I feel like encompasses something very particular that ain't this. This is more chick lit, you know? More like fun fiction, fun women's fiction, I guess. It's so good. It's just so up my alley. Our main character, she's really flawed. I don't see this book landing with a lot of people because the main character is a little bit, she's making all the wrong choices. She's not really seeing the ways that she's flawed. She's making a lot of judgments about people, but something about her feels real. I don't know. I'm loving the book. I want to say something more, but I can't because I don't want to spoil anything. I like our main character just because she's flawed, just because she's not perfect, because she's a little bit out of her mind. She's not doing well. I like her. I like her a lot. This is a character I don't get to read a lot in books because a lot of people don't want to have a main character that might rub people the wrong way, or they don't want to tell a story that might rub people the wrong way. And I know how this story is going to end. I know eventually she's going to get on the straight and narrow and figure out like, girl. And you have to read the book to know what I mean by the straight and narrow. I don't have no problem with swingers. You have to read the book to know what I mean by the straight and narrow. But I also love the lesson this book is also trying to teach as well. The lesson I think we're going to get from this. I don't know. Book of the month kind of snapped with this because I probably would not have picked this book up on my own. I saw the synopsis on Book of the Month and I was like, swingers? Gotta go for it. And y'all know I love marriage trouble. Marriage trouble is one of my favorite tropes in any type of book. It's thriller, romance, fiction. Marriage trouble is literally like maybe my top trope that I love. And then cheating is my second favorite trope. So like a recipe for a good night for me. But anyways, my empty shelves. My empty shelves are still empty. They might not be empty next time you guys see them. I don't know. But this is like my new reading corner. Kenya's Corner is what this is going to be. Maybe that's a thing I should start on either one of my channels. Something called like Kenya's Corner where I sit in this corner and talk to you guys about stuff. I don't know. Anyways, I will see you guys when I finish this book. Peace. Let there be bookshelves, you guys. We have extended the shelves. Look at it in all of its glory. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. I can't. And once I fill it up with all my babies, and the thing is, I feel like I'm going to have nowhere near enough books to fill this thing up, which just shows you how much space I'm going to have. The only shelf that'll be full is this right here. That will be full because those are like my legacy titles that I'll probably never reach for, but like they're legacy books to me, and that's probably going to be pretty full. But like I consider my active library the 4 shelves under. I have nowhere near enough books to fill it, and that's so exciting. This just feels like the start of something new. But anyways, yeah, back to the vlog. It's just so pretty in here. Okay, you guys, first of all, we have books again back on the bookshelf. You guys do not understand how good it feels to have space. Like, you guys, this is empty space. Like, there's my books fall down on each other. This feels so good. Like, this gets me excited to read books. I don't know about you, but when my babies don't have homes or the home is unorganized, it takes me out of reading. But now that I have my shelves up and everything it's organized. These are the books I have read. Over here is the books I haven't read. It's a lot. It just feels good. But anyway, let's get back into the video. Book of the month. So, once again, not sponsored. This is the Book of the Month box that all of my books came in. It's just sitting up here. I actually use it to store makeup that I need to throw away. Well, makeup that I want to give away, that I want to get out of my home. So actually it has makeup in it right now. And so that's what I use it for. But every single month, that is the box that it comes in. And I don't know, something about this box is pretty iconic, so I'm gonna give it to them for the box. But back to the point of Book of the Month. The point of Book of the Month is to read the books. How are the books? So, can you finish the lifestyle? I am going to give this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. This book is not going to be for everyone. People are going to disagree with the opinions of the main character, the things that the main character does. I see a lot of people having problems with the way the main character treats people. I think that is what I'm going to get when I go log this book on Goodreads. But this book worked for me. This book was just a whole lot of fun. This book took risk and discussed things things in ways that a lot of books wouldn't have, in my opinion. The only thing that really fell short to me was the relationship she had with the girl who cheated on, who slept with her husband. I found that to be a little vapid, but other than that, I thought this book was just really, really good. I do think the love interest, the connection with the love interest could have been a little bit deeper. And also this book does run a little bit long at the end. Like, we kind of get the point of the story. Everyone is kind of in their place. So, those are just some like things that I'm nitpicking at, but overall, this was just a really enjoyable book, and that's why I'm going to put it at a 4. When I feel like if I just really enjoy a book, but I do have things that I like, you know, a little things that here or there, I feel comfortable putting you at a 4. You're not a perfect book like a 5-star read would be, but I really enjoyed it. Book of the month, you came through with this. So far, book of the month was worth my money. For a read, that's better than most of the reads I read last year and paid my own money for, picked out myself. So I paid my own money for this too, but like picked out myself. So well worth it to me. So we have to pick what our next book is going to be. We have Ali Hazelwood, Love on the Brain, and I only want to read this because I'm nosy. I want to know what it's about. Some people just absolutely love it. Some people think like Ali Hazelwood, stick to your day job, and like I feel like that's a little harsh. Like The Love Hypothesis like was not good to me. It was just not a good book to me, but it had potential. And then I read one of her novellas, Under One Roof, I believe, and I thought it was fine. So I just don't think this book is going to deeply offend me. So we will see. But I also want to read Breathless because where I am right now in my reading, thrillers kind of get me going. They keep me reading more than like, if I get 50 pages into this book and it's not grabbing me, I'm not going to want to pick it up and it's going to stall this video. But if I get 50 pages into this and I'm not really feeling it, because I know there's a thriller and something is probably going to happen, I'll keep reading it. So I'm just like, which one should I do first? Find out in the next clip. You guys know, all you have to do is fast forward to find out. Kenya has to go a whole nother day to figure out which one she's going to pick up because I am done reading for the night. But I will see you guys when I decide what I'm going to read. Peace. It is so bright, you guys, but I wanted to come and give you guys some initial thoughts on Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I was trying to get like all of my video stuff in order and like the books that I'm reading, and if I've given an update, because I'm constantly working on a lot of things at a lot of times, and so I get confused if I've updated you guys on stuff. And I have not updated you guys on Ali Hazelwood's Love on the Brain because I was thinking about what book I'm going to read tonight before bed, and I was like, maybe I should finish Love on the Brain. And then I was like, did I even tell them I was reading Love on the Brain? I'm reading Love on the Brain. I don't have the book with me right now. We're on DNF alert. We are on DNF alert with this book. It has been a few days and I have not picked this book back up since initially reading it. I do not think me and Ali Hazelwood understand each other. I think Ali Hazelwood has a different definition of what good romance is and than what I think good romance is. Our definitions differ because I hate this book. I'm absolutely hating this book. I don't want to fuck up the fun because I just don't want to come on here and say nasty things about every book that is popular or every author in romance that is popular. So I'm going to blame myself on this one. I just think I am in a different era in my life than when I could really enjoy something like this book. I don't enjoy books like this. So let me tell you what's bothering me about this book. Then I'll tell you what the book is about, because there's not much to say about what the book is about because ain't much going on. Okay, I feel like there is adult romance out right now that is not necessarily written with adults in mind. I feel like there is a specific group of adult romance that is written for teenagers but has adults as the main characters, and so they can deal with adult content, like adult content matter, adult topics, but it's 100% for teenagers. I feel like this book is written for like a 15, 16-year-old girl who wants to see how she will be in the future, because she doesn't realize the person she is at 17 is not the person she's going to be at 28, 29, but she thinks she's going to still be the same person. So she gets to see what an adult version of herself would be, and that's the person who's in this book. But the problem with that is people who are of age, who are of the age of the people in these books, no, you don't act like this when you're fucking 30. You don't act like this when you're fucking 30. The main character of this book acts like a 17-year-old. She acts like how someone who is 17 expects themselves, and who is whimsical and, you know, all over the place and fun, how they expect themselves to act when they're 30, because they don't realize they're going to mature so much in the next decade. They won't even recognize the 17-year-old version of themselves. And I hate books like this because this character is acting like a buffoon. A buffoon. She stumbles over herself. The stuff she says about other people, the stuff she says about herself, the stuff she says about the things around her. There's this thing where, like, she sees a cat and she, like, falls out, and it's a whole thing. And she asks herself, when someone's like, you saw a cat? She's like, did I imagine the cat? Like, no, you fucking didn't imagine the cat. You're 30 years old. Like, she constantly says things that a 30-year-old person with a PhD doesn't say. And I'm not saying that to be, like, ageist. I'm saying that to, like, if you are a normal human being, there are ways in which you mature and you don't act certain ways. And that's what this character does. This book also has a whole feminism thing going on in it that is so vapid. That is so vapid, and honestly is making a mockery of women who actually deal with, like, workplace imbalances and people being nasty to them in the workplace. This book actually is making a mockery of it because it's trying to do it so much that it's just boring. And the weirdest thing about this book is that most of it is just internal dialogue. This didn't really bother me in The Love Hypothesis, so I can't really say if this also was in The Love Hypothesis because I don't remember. But for some reason, it is bothering me so much in Love on the Brain. Half the book is just her talking to herself, to the point where when you're reading it on the page, you want to just skim and wait until you get to actual dialogue to move on. And that brings you to actual dialogue. What the fuck is this book about? This is what I mean by books that are just about tropes and books that aren't about anything. This book is just a academic nemesis to lovers type book. A big thing that everyone was talking about is that they love nemesis, like academic nemesis to lovers, that trope. Everyone's in love with that trope. I don't fucking love anything that starts with two people disliking each other. It's not for me, but y'all can have it. And so that's just what this book is. This book is just about two people who didn't like each other in high school or in graduate school who are going to become lovers. That's literally all it is. There's nothing special about the plot. And I am just in an era in my life where with the romance I want to read romances that are juicy, that are deep, that are intentional, that are thoughtful. And this book could be anything. Like, could be anything. These characters could be doing anything. Like, there's nothing special about them. There's nothing unique about the situation that they are in. The only identity that this book has is the fact that Allie Hazelwood is a scientist, and so she knows scientific things and it gets thrown inside there. But, like, other than that, these characters are just, they could be anyone. Like, the man in The Love Hypothesis and the man in this book could be interchangeable. There's nothing different about them. There's not, like, they're exactly the same. The girl in that book and the girl in this book could be interchangeable. There's nothing that makes them unique. And that's my problem with tropity trope romance, is that I love tropes just as much as the next. Y'all know I made a whole video on my favorite tropes. I love tropes. It's not the fact that there are tropes. Romance has to have tropes. That's why we like romance. The problem is when the tropes carry the book. The tropes carry the book, and the book is just not a book by itself. And that's my problem with Love on the Brain. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's boring. It's boring to read. I feel like if you're not imagining your own crush that you have in your own personal life as you read it, what else would you want to read this book for? Like, except like reading it as like almost fan fiction to whoever you like. Like, insert, you know, in fan fiction when they be like, insert your name, insert your crush's name. That's what it feels like. Insert whoever you have a little fucking crush on. And maybe this book becomes interesting because now someone's writing a whole love story about your life. But I just don't see how, as a book on its own, this is interesting. It's just not. It's just not. It's just not. Basically, let me still tell you the plot. Still ain't told you the plot. And that is all she wrote for Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I am DNFing this book at page 130. We have gotten to the part of the program where Ali Hazelwood gets into her he's big, I'm small bag, and I cannot do it again. I will not be reading any more Ali Hazelwood in the future. We just do not see eye to eye. I never even told you what this book is about. This book is an academics to rivals book. I should tell you the plot, but there simply really isn't one. This girl has gone to like go work with NASA and work on this little gadget doohickey that's going to help with people in space and all of that. And when she goes to start this new program and work on this new thing, this guy who she went to grad school with is head of the little program, is head of the project. And so she kind of has a bad taste in her mouth about this because she thought he was a flaming misogynist. And basically they have to work on this project together in order to see it to completion, and that starts their romance. No, all this book is her rambling in her head all like the entire time. Barely is there any dialogue or anything happening. It's just her talking to herself in her head, but nothing she says in her head is funny at all. The guy is just insert hot guy into book. That's what it is. She's insert quirky girl. It just is not a good romance book. It's just not. It's not a good book. I'm giving this book DNF. I just know I was going to give this book 1 star. I just know I was going to give this book 1 star. So before we get to any sex scenes that absolutely disgust me, we can just stop here. So the next book that we are going to read, let me go get it. We are going to read Breathless. Hopefully this is a bit better. I am not going to blame Book of the Month for this flop because I was never going to like this book. I should have stopped being so nosy. That's my problem. I'm a nosy reader. I get nosy. I want to know what certain things are about. And you guys, I'm so bad at DNFing stuff because like I could get through this book. I just know for what. I do think the cover is really pretty, but for what? Why do I want to get through this book so badly? It's not going to happen. I'd rather move on to something else that just excites me a bit more. Maybe I'll come back to it. Maybe this is a long video. Maybe I'll come back to it. It's just not happening today. So we're going to move on to Breathless. I really love this cover as well. I usually don't like blue covers, but I think this cover is really pretty by Amy Michalak. We're going to move on to that because Love on the Brain is a no. But this is not Book of the Month's fault. This is my fault for ever believing I would ever like a book like this. This is just not for me, and I knew it wasn't for me. But I will give Book of the Month points for having a book that is popular. Like, I would have spent my own money on this. So the fact that, and I still did because I did through Book of the Month, but the fact that I just got it in a subscription box, and so like now I don't feel like I wasted any money by getting this book, if that makes any sense, because it was a part of a subscription box I paid for at the beginning of the year. I'm gonna be honest, when you get Book of the Month books, it kind of feels like you're getting free books because you paid for it so long ago. So it doesn't bother me that I did that. I still don't regret my Book of the Month buy. But if things really start to get bleak, the lifestyle is picking up a lot of slack here. So if things really do start to get really bad, I might start regretting stuff. But we're going to move on to Breathless, and I'll see you guys in those clips. Peace. Okay, you guys. I am back in my shirt that I wear when I want to eat something greasy and I don't want to get grease stained. So this already has all the grease stains. So needless to say, I look a mess. I am here with I don't think it's gonna be a rant review, because to give this book a rant review, I would have to have deep emotional ties to it, and I don't. I just find this book to be bizarre. Let's discuss Breathless by Amy Michalak. Michalak? Y'all know me and last names. Nothing about this book makes sense, but it all makes sense. But it's all just so stupid. It doesn't make sense. Then it makes some sense. Then it stops making sense. And then you're like, oh, this is stupid. So let me roll you through what happens in this book. Because I've read the entire thing. I've read the entire thing because this book does that thing that some thriller books do, that some books, period, do, where you stay in the exposition the entire time. Everything is the buildup. Then you get a chapter or two of the climax, a chapter or two of the falling action, half a chapter of a resolution, and it ends. So you keep reading this book because you're like, okay, we're building up to something. A good story is about to come. Then you look and see you got about 70 pages left, and you like, oh, I'm supposed to be reading the good story already. So let me tell you what this book is about. We follow this journalist. This journalist who her family has kind of given up on her. She always does things, then she stops doing them. So her family doesn't really they don't see any motivation in her. They don't really see her becoming anything. They've kind of given up on her. So she wants to prove everyone wrong. That she can be a real journalist. That she can set her sights to something and she can accomplish it. So there is this famous guy who likes to climb mountains. All the biggest mountain peaks he has climbed, and he has done it without rope, and he has done it without oxygen. And so she wants to do an interview with this guy. They describe this guy as the free solo of the mountain climbing business. If you don't know who Free Solo is, that's the guy that be climbing them rocks, that be rock climbing with no harness, no nothing. It's just him and his feet going up the mountains. They did a whole documentary. I think it won an Oscar or something like that. That's the guy. Yeah, I watched the documentary. The documentary was good as shit. That's that. That's that on it. That's what they describe him as. And so she wants to do an interview with him. And everyone's like, if you do that interview, that's really going to set you apart as a journalist. But everyone kind of gets a little bit peeved in her personal life that she's doing this interview. You have people who think she's not good enough to do it. Like, girl, because she used to climb mountains herself. She used to be a mountain climber herself, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly. And she fucked that up. She fucked that up. She was with her boyfriend and something happened. Someone died. So that was a whole fucking thing. Then there's people at her job who girl, you're always going to be a second-rate journalist. Let it go. So she wants to do this interview. And so she meets the guy. The guy's like, I'll give you the interview. She doesn't know why the guy's going to give her the interview, but the guy's like, I'll give you the interview. But you gotta climb the mountain with me. This mountain is not a small mountain. Is it Mount Everest? No. But it's over 8,000 feet. It's a big mountain. And so she's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to climb the mountain and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do this interview, and I'm going to do it well. So she trains to climb this mountain. She meets up with all the people, and they're about to climb the mountain. Now, the guy who was going to meet her, who's done all the mountain climbing, he's actually going to meet them at the third campground of the mountain. Do y'all remember that movie? It might have been called Everest, with Jake Gyllenhaal, where they were climbing the mountain and people were dying. That's the vibe I was imagining as I was reading this book. That movie. Anyways, we continue. And so the guy's gonna meet her, but as they're getting ready to climb this mountain, they're training a little. By training, I mean everyone's kind of getting their feel for everything, and they're making sure everyone has their money, because you have to pay the people who help you get up the mountain, all that stuff. People start dropping dead. People just start dropping dead. People are getting pushed off of mountains. People are dying in mysterious ways before they've even really started to climb the mountain. And you're just reading the story as people begin to die. And then you also, in between, you're getting a lot of people talking to one another, and you're hearing all types of sketchy things about, everyone. Everyone is sketchy. Everyone is sketchy. Everyone has a lie to tell about this person, a truth to tell about this person. So it just seems like everything around us seems a little bit off. People are dying. People are telling lies. People are stealing money. People are being asked to go back down the mountain. It's a lot. And that's the story. And so things happen. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but things happen, and that's the story. This book is nothing but exposition. This book wants to be, where is it? Ruth wears one by one. And that's the vibe that it gives. But it does, for a book like this to work, I have to be at the edge of my seat. It has to feel like this omnipresent being is going around and killing people. Like, who's causing these people to die? Who's causing all this confusion? Who's here that we're not seeing, It's supposed to feel that way, but that's not what we're getting. It's obvious who's the person doing it. It's so obvious. And I think the book knows that it's obvious who's doing it. And so then it kind of fakes you out, but then it's like, just kidding. And then the person who you think is doing it is doing it. But it's stupid. It's stupid. You all of a sudden, you're just there. You're like, it's like, all of it, have you ever been driving home and you kind of zone out? Like, your body just knows how to drive. And so before you know it, you're like, whoa, I'm at my house. That's what this book is. You're reading, and before you know it, you're at the climax of the book and you're like, when the fuck did we get here? When did I start reading a story? When did I start reading a book? That's what this book is. It's like, when did I start reading this book? And so then you get into the whodunit of it all. Stupid. Like, I'm sorry. The motives of the person doing the doing is just so stupid. First of all, let's start off with me at the beginning telling you to get the interview. The guy who climbs the mountain wants her to climb the mountain too. What the fuck? I'm not interviewing you. I'm not climbing a mountain just because I want to interview you. Like, be fucking for real. I'm not climbing a mountain, one of the biggest mountains in the world, because I'm going to interview. Like, just the motives for her even climbing the mountain seems stupid. Them allowing her to climb this mountain, like, she's not an experienced climber. So, like, why would she even be allowed to climb a mountain like this? But because they discuss that in the book, so I'm not going to take that away from them. They discuss that in the book. It's just stupid. The ending of this book is just really bad. Like, the ending of this book is really, really bad. I am going to give this book 2 stars. I'm going to give it 2 stars. Never once did I want a DNF. Never once did I want a DNF. I was in it. I was in it the entire time. It's just so much exposition. And you're learning so many things about the main character, and you're learning so many things about all the characters, and they're doing that, so you feel something when each and every one of these characters eventually die, right? This is very and then there were none. It's very that type B. So you're supposed to feel something when these people die, but it just doesn't. The writing doesn't take you there. You're not invested in any of these characters. So when any of these moments happen, it could be anyone dying. It could be our main character dying. It's just, you're never that invested. You never really feel like there's a sense of danger all around. It never feels that way. And if it really did do a good job at that, a book that I think did a really good job at setting that tone, the book No Exit, I have my issues with that book, but there's a tone there. There's a feeling of being scared, like someone's watching. Anything could happen. What's going on? This book doesn't accomplish that. And I think if it did, that's the difference between this being a good book and a bad book. I just think this was less than great. So I am going to give this book 2 stars. Now, it's still not the worst book we read in this video. Love on the Brain is our DNF. You guys, I went back and I tried to read a few more pages. I read 30 more pages of this book, and it still got insufferable because I've come so far. I'm at the halfway point. I've come so far in this book. Can't just finish it and give it 1 star so it can be in your worst books of the year video. But like, I can't do it. I genuinely can't. So we will move on to When We Were Bright and Beautiful. I'm really excited to get into. We're getting into the books I'm most excited to get into. This one, The Fortunes of Jaded Women, Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. We're getting into the thick of it. And I've decided I'm going to allow this vlog to go on as long as I want it to go on. So we might even read even more because I bought 12 book of the month books. So like, I'm going to go on until like I just have to post this video. So we're going to keep on going because I'm actually having a blast. Like, Love on the Brain was bad, but I'm having a blast reading these books. Because I have no real investment in them, it's like picking out of a bag. Like, I didn't really buy these books, it feels like. It feels like someone else was, like, gifted me these books and is like, here, I think you'll like these. Like, it doesn't say anything about my taste, so I don't know what to expect from any of these books, and I'm not putting a lot of stock into them, so I'm having fun. Whether they're good or they're bad, I'm having a lot of fun. Like, this is a really good... I'm literally having a blast reading these books. The good ones, the bad ones, I'm having a blast. So we will move on to When We Were Bright and Beautiful. Peace. Okay, you guys, so we are back for our next book. Let's hope it's a winner. We had 2 duds. Breathless wasn't as much of a dud as Love on the Brain. I never wanted to DNF Breathless. I just never felt like I was grounded in the book when it came to Breathless. But our next book is When We Were Bright and Beautiful, and I already have thoughts. First of all, this is a book where I probably would have already heard about this book if Book of the Month didn't recommend it for me, if it wasn't one of the choices, but it got on my radar because I saw it on Book of the Month. I think this was the longest book. This was the longest time it took a book to get to me. A lot of people picked this book the month it came out, I believe, and it took a little while for this book to get to me. I think that's why it took a while, but yes, my camera died, so that's why there's a cut. This book took the longest to get to me, but I never knew what this book was actually about. I knew it was about a family, but that's pretty much all I knew. So going into it, I looked to see what it was going to be about, and it said family, Upper East Side, Manhattan. That's already my gig, but boy, was I not ready for what this book was going to give me. I am on page 164, and this book is kind of brilliant. I gotta see how it wraps up, but this book is giving brilliant. Okay, so this book, you have a family. They are very rich, and I'm not talking rich like couple million rich. I'm talking old money, Vanderbilt type rich. Like, they are rich. They made their money back in the day. And so they live on the Upper East Side, but they are all called together when one of the siblings gets accused of sexual assault. His girlfriend, his on and off girlfriend, has accused him of R-wording her. And so that brings the family all together because they believe that the girlfriend of their brother is just this lying, vindictive, scheming woman who is just trying to bring down the brother, because in the past, the brother has always said that she's always stalking him at school. She's always doing stuff. So the ages are 22, 20, they're all in their early 20s. The oldest one is Nate. He's 25, I believe. Then you have the 2, which is the girl, because this entire story is told from the point of view of the sister. She's about 23, and then you have the brother Billy, who has been accused of sexual assault. He is around in his early 20s as well. They're like Irish twins, whatever that means. That's what they are. And so you get them coming together to tell this story of her brother, who was accused of R-wording someone. But like I said, the story is all told in her point of view. This book is brilliant because I believe this book is showing you all the agents of patriarchy. how everyone in society, in mainstream society, especially affluent society, how everyone becomes an agent of patriarchy, and how everyone bands together to protect one another because they all have become agents of patriarchy. They are all misogynists, whether it be internalized misogyny, whether it just be you're a misogynist. They're all agents of patriarchy, and how they all come together to try and protect one thing and one thing only, and that's patriarchy. This story being told in the point of view of the sister is so brilliant because you're seeing how what has happened in her life that has made her believe the things she believes, says the things that she says. She has her own weird, convoluted story that is going on in here that has so many layers and so much depth, and it gets you to the person that you meet her in the now, because we keep going back in time to hear things about her life, but it comes almost in flashbacks. It doesn't come as its own like chapters. It comes in like flashbacks. Something will happen and we'll flash back to what happened to her when she was a teenager. And it's just so brilliant. I did not know this story was a story about misogyny, a story about patriarchy, a story about believing women. What makes this book also so brilliant is how they are treating the victim in this story. She's like, everyone says her name at least once a page. Her name is on the page, yet you know nothing about this girl. Like, she's in her own story, this is her own sexual assault case. She's like a passive bystander. She's a bystander in her own case. People talk about her without talking about her. They project their own feelings onto her, what her own desires are. They project those onto her. They don't really give her any agency in her own story that's not her just being vindictive and nasty. She's just almost just like a passive character in her own story because this is all about her. But no one ever cares about her. No one cares about her. No one's thinking about her. No one's thinking that they could be wrong about this girl. No one's thinking, oh, well, maybe we should go do this or go check up on. No, it's never, but her name constantly comes up. But she's an afterthought in everyone's mind. Everyone is worried about how they're affected by this, but she's just an afterthought. She's just an afterthought. Like, it's never even a thing. So I just think what this story is doing is absolutely brilliant. How it's being told, how we're learning about the trauma of our main character. I don't want to spoil too much. I want you guys to read it if it shapes up to be good. But the way everything is unfolding and the ways what this book is doing. So I'm not going to get too much into the main character, but there's this idea that as a woman, you can use patriarchy to your advantage and it'll never turn on you. That is what's happening here, because we're seeing two sides of the same exact coin. The person who was claiming they were sexually assaulted and our main character, their stories align in a lot of ways. And yet she doesn't see or have any sympathy for the girl who accused her brother, or she doesn't feel the need to like question much or even try to be like, maybe this is all good. But you hear her story, and her story seems to be exactly how they're painting this other girl out to be. And it just, like I said from the beginning, it shows you how you can like become an agent of patriarchy and not even realize it because of all the things that you've been told will help further you in society. So many people, women, believe that they can trick patriarchy, they can trick misogyny, they can use it to their advantage, and then when they don't want to use it anymore, it goes off to the wayside. They believe they have so much power over patriarchy, but patriarchy has existed for so long because it picks you up and drops you whenever it needs to. It uses women, certain women, all women. It uses it, like I said, as an agent. It uses it to push its agenda and its message. But the minute it doesn't need you anymore, it throws you away. So the minute you're no longer attractive and men are no longer into you, it throws you away. The minute you question patriarchy, it throws you away. The minute you just want to do something else, you want to switch up, you no longer want to be that femme fatale, you don't want to be that sexual being people want you to be, it throws you away. Patriarchy tells you what to do, how to do, and you believe you have so much control because you're like, these are my desires, but you never ask, why are your desires your desires? And also what makes this book brilliant, there's an underlying mystery, I think, going on in this book as well. I'm like literally gushing because it's just so much fun to come off of this bullshit. This is a book I want to be reading. I am back for my final thoughts on When We Were Bright and Beautiful by Gillian Madoff. I am giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. This book is brilliant. This book tells a really complex story about sexual assault and the victims and the abusers, who's right, who's wrong. I think a lot of times when we take a book like My Dark Vanessa, I feel like these two books are covering the same thing, but this book just did it significantly better. The things that I disliked about this book made up for it. This is a perfectly fine book. A lot of people love it. I don't have an issue with My Dark Vanessa. But what this book did was it made interesting characters and interesting dynamics, and then it gave you a plot about them. I was reading the author's note, and in the author's note, she was saying how she wanted to humanize every single character to make everything seem real, and that's what this book did. No one was all right. When you get books like this, there's always this character who has all the right things to say, know all the right things to do, and so they don't feel real. They don't seem like they have real thoughts. It just feels like they're the person who is our model of what a good person is. This book gives everyone complexity. The biggest villain in the book also had some good things, also did some good things, also had some good thoughts. The biggest victim in the book also did some bad things. And so it all comes together to make a really complex story with really complex ideas. I just thought this book was absolutely brilliant. It's telling the story of sexual assault and how the things that we do in response to trauma, how we're always carrying that trauma with us, and how we project that trauma onto other people, and how the things we have gone through based our decisions in the things we do in life and how we see other people. And it also tells the story of privilege, how men are able to escape any consequences for the things that they do. And oftentimes when certain men are brought to justice, it's to protect other men from not being brought to justice. It was just this really interesting story. I have to believe in the future this book is going to get a cover change. This book does not look like a book about a family on the Upper East Side whose son is accused of sexual assault and family secrets. That's not what this book gives. This book gives I don't know. It just doesn't give that. So I think this book is going to get a cover change because this book 100% has a home with a lot of people. I think a lot of people will really like this book. But the cover, I like the cover. I like the cover a lot. But I just think for this to appeal to a wider audience, I suspect the cover change rather soon. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. We have our first 5 out of 5 star. I'm going to give the lifestyle 5 stars too, I think. So we have a 5 in the lifestyle. We have a DNFing Love on the brain. We have a 2-star with Breathless. And we have a 5 here. I think reading this in the lifestyle, I can already kind of say book of the month, you snap. This is more 5-star. If I picked 5 books off of my book, I've read 4 books. If I picked 4 books off of my bookshelf that I purchased myself and knew myself, I would not get 2 5 stars out of them. I am sure of it. So, book of the month, you're doing something. But we're here for the magnum opus of this video. The thing that made this video come to be, I think the book everyone wants to know my opinions about, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I'm written by Gabrielle Zevin. I am very excited to read this book. I have no clue what this book is about. All I know is video games. All I know is something about video games. Gorgeous cover. I am so excited to read this book and just get on into it. I'm going to spend all today trying to make it's kind of chunky. She's a chunky girl and the words are small. So I'm going to spend all today just trying to make a dent in it. The hardest thing about me reading a book is starting a book. It's so hard for me to start a book. I have to like get like 120 pages into a book and then I'm smooth selling. So like I'm going to try to get to that point today. So yeah, we're doing good. Hello, you guys. So we are here to talk about our last book of the video, and that is Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I've been saying Gabriel, and it's Gabrielle. I don't know how to feel about this book just yet. I am literally on page 150, and I was like, I have to come on here and give you guys some initial thoughts. But the thing is, I don't really have many initial thoughts. That isn't to say I'm not enjoying it. I'm actually really enjoying this book. I'm taking my time with it. There's a lot of words on the page, so it's very wordy. There's a lot of quotes in here about death. Like, this is a very morbid book. There's a lot of quotes about death and about living a good life. I do love the quote. What is it? Life is long unless it's not. Great quote. I love a little quote like that. But overall, I have no real feelings. Like, I'm not so hyped to read it every single night or throughout the day. But, you know, I'm also not upset about reading it. I am interested in everything going on. I love the parts about video games. Let me tell you what the book is about, just in case you have not heard about Tomorrow. Because here's the thing. This book was a really popular book last year. It was on a lot of people's best of lists. I told you it won Book of the Year from Book of the Month. But also this book didn't have like it did have a bunch of fanfare, but it also didn't. Like, I look at books like Babel. Babel had like a bunch of fanfare. This book has fanfare, but it doesn't seem to like as big a degree. Like, this book is very popular. I'm not taking away from it. This book also won I think it won its Goodreads category. It won the Book of the Month book. But I don't know. It doesn't have a big like fandom, I think. I don't know what that is about this book. But this book is very popular. So like maybe I'm also making a point out of no point because this book is very popular. But this book is about two people who met each other at a children's hospital. One of them was actually in the children's hospital getting surgery and getting work done on them. And the other one had a sister who was recovering from cancer. And they met each other at a children's hospital playing Mario with each other, the video game Mario, with each other, and they became friends. Well, over time, they just started hanging out every single day because our main character, Sadie, she was the only person who Sam was actually in the children's hospital getting work done. She was the only person he would talk to. So the people at the children's hospital was like, can you keep coming back? Like, he doesn't talk to anyone and he talks to you, so keep coming back. And that's how they kind of built a friendship. But something happened and it caused them to rip apart, you know, them no longer be friends. You would have to read to find that out. But years later, they meet up with each other once again. And that's when the story really starts to take place. I really love the way this book is written. You're following Sam and Sadie, and you're getting both of their internal thoughts, and it just flips back and forth. There's no real warning. It just flips back and forth of who's talking about who, and they're telling you this story in retrospect about how they came together and became a team. That's the part that's really interesting about this book. I don't know what the purpose of the story is. You don't know yet why they're telling you the story. I don't know if it even matters at this point, but they're not telling you why we're being told this story. Because here's the thing. Our character, especially the Sadie character, gives us a lot of information in retrospect. She tells us things that she knows in the future, like at her current self, that she didn't know back then. It's in retro. So we know we're getting told this story. And sometimes she'll tell us things that'll happen in the future that hasn't really happened in the point of the story that she's telling us. We don't really get much of that from Sam, but we do get stuff from Sam. Is that foreshadowing Sam might be dead? I don't know. But I also haven't been looking close. We could have gotten the same exact stuff from Sam. I just don't know yet. But basically, they are two programmers. They are two video game creators, and they come together to create a video game that becomes really, really successful. And this is they're telling us the story about their partnership, about them coming together to create these video games. And basically, you're just hearing about their personal life. You're hearing about their gaming life. You're hearing about their upbringing, and you're just learning things about these two people. Then you meet characters along the way. Sadie has a boyfriend. Sam has a roommate. Sam's roommate has a girlfriend. Like, you're getting all these characters, all these pieces. You're getting information about their mothers. It's a lot going on here. It's a lot going. So I guess you are getting some stuff about Sam in retrospect, because you're learning about Sam's mother, and there's no way Sadie could tell you about Sam's mother. So Sam is giving us stuff about himself in there as well. So you're getting both of these stories about these two people in their life, and that's pretty much what has happened. They moved to California, where I'm at in the book. If you read it, we're moving to California, back to California, because they're both from California, and that's pretty much what has happened. You want to know something that did? There was this little section in here about cultural appropriation that I fully disagreed with. It doesn't take any points away from the book. It's just like the person who wrote this book has a take and I have a take, and I totally disagreed with their idea on cultural appropriation. It was supposed to be like this mic drop moment for one of the characters when they were asked, like, is there video game cultural appropriation? And the mic drop moment didn't work for me, because I actually didn't agree with what the character said. I'm just like, that doesn't make it. I can poke holes in this you're trying to make this a moment, and like, maybe I can poke holes in what you're saying, like, and why, like, that's not what people mean when they're talking about cultural appropriation. That's not how cultural appropriation works, and you can't use that excuse as a reason for why people can't challenge if your game is cultural appropriation. There's another reason why your game isn't cultural appropriation, but you didn't use the right thing. Anyways, that's here, not there. That's here, not there. I just wanted to come in here and say, no, I'm not gagged yet. No, I am not gagged, but I do think this has gag potential. We are on gag alert. On gag alert. I do think this has potential. I think we're shaping up for a 4 or 5. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm not enjoying this book. I am enjoying this book. It's just yet I haven't gotten that like punch yet, but Kenya can do a slow burn. When I was reading When We Were Bright and Beautiful, I didn't get it till I got it. So this might be one of those I don't get it till I got it yet. You know? Anyways, so I'm going to still chew on this for a while. Probably the next time you guys see me, I'm going to have a whole new hairstyle. I'm going to go slow with this one, because this is the last book I promised I would get through in this video. I feel no pressure to finish it anytime soon. You know, this video isn't going up anytime soon. So I can eat through this for a while. And if we get to You're Invited or The Fortunes of Jaded Women, I think we're going to get to The Fortunes of Jaded Women. I don't know if we're going to You're Invited, but The Fortunes of Jaded Women we're going to get into. We get to it. If we don't, I read 5 books in this vlog. This vlog is already going to go over an hour, which y'all know I don't like to do. I'm sorry about the lighting as well. I'm like side lit. I'm side lit. There's no light coming from over here, so I'm side lit. But anyways, I will talk to you guys when I come back. I want to talk about how gorgeous this cover is, though. This cover is so beautiful. If this book is a 5 out of 5 star, I would probably go ahead and get the... No, I won't. If this book really gagged me, I would go ahead and get the version that doesn't have the Book of the Month coin on it, which proves to you how much I despise this Book of the Month coin. Because what does that say? Because this book is all about, should you get Book of the Month? What does it say that when you really like a Book of the Month book, you go out and buy the version that's not the Book of the Month book? Like, shouldn't you want to just keep it because that's the like, I don't know. So that's might be something I have to take off on Book of the Month, that if I really like a book, I'd be tempted to get the non-Book of the Month version. But that's only because this cover is pretty. I gave 2 other books in this video 5 stars, and I'm not tempted to... I'm going to keep those books, but I'm not tempted to get another cover of those books. So, anyways, I will see you guys. I've been talking for 9 minutes. I will see you guys later. Peace. I am back with my final thoughts on tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. So, I am going to give this book, I believe, 4 stars. It didn't wow me. Like, I was waiting for that moment to just be blown away, and it never quite came. I was waiting for that moment for everything to lock into place, and I got some things that locked into place. I think the best part of this book is Sadie and Sam's relationship, them basically being in love with one another in a friendship sense, them being in love with one another in a work sense, a partner sense. What makes a partner? What makes a soulmate? What makes a lover? I love all of that. I loved everything about their relationship. I love this idea of two friends always finding their way back to one another. That really worked for me. What did not work for me fully in this book are our two main side characters. We have a side character named Dove and we have a side character named Marks. Neither of them really did what I needed for them to do in this story. Marks becomes a really big part of this book. Marks is that roommate I was telling you about with Sam, and nothing about his character ever really affected me in a deep way. When we get to the point of the book where things are happening and I'm supposed to care about Marks, I just don't feel like I do. I don't feel like there was enough meat on the bone for Marks as a character for me to really dive into him. And they kind of explain that in a way, kind of comparing Marks to a non-playable character like in The Sims or something, but I'm just like, but I need to feel something for Marks. I need to feel that Marks is a real person, and I never really do. Dove is my least favorite thing about this book because I feel like the book never knew when to get Dove out of the book. Dove just was really uninteresting as a character. And so Dove stays in the book throughout the entire book, and I'm just like, he's not an interesting character. Why does this book keep trying to make me believe I should care about this man? This man is an interesting character. He's not an interesting character as a villain. He's not an interesting character as a lover. He's not an interesting character as a friend. And he's not an interesting character as a teacher. He just never... And because those two things are those two characters are big points of the book, it doesn't all lock into place. So I am going to comfortably give this book 4 out of 5 stars, but I am really happy that I read it, and this is so much better than a lot of things that I read. So, with that being said, we have read all the books I intended to read for this video, but off camera, I am going to read The Fortunes of Jaded Women, and I'm going to read You're Invited, and I'm just going to quickly give you guys my final thoughts on those two books, and then we will wrap up the video. I won't come in and give you guys halfway points of those. I'll give you guys like just final thoughts on those books, like ratings, final thoughts, and then we will go through all 7 of the books that we read for this video, plus another book of the month book I read earlier this month, not for this video, and we will discuss Worth the Money for Me. Okay? See you then. Peace. Hey you guys, we are back to wrap this video up. I told you guys off camera, let me put the book of the month box, so that's like the point. I told you guys off camera I would read the last 2 books that I wanted to get to for this video, and I am a woman of my word, and I did. So the first book that I read was The Fortunes of Jaded Women by Caroline Hun. I'm going to give this book 3 out of 5 stars. So this book follows this family of women. A curse has been put on them. Generations ago, one of the women in the family, she ran off on her husband and married someone else, and they had a son together, and basically the mother of the man she ran off on, she went to like a witch and put a curse on her entire bloodline, and that curse is that they will never have any sons. And that matters because in the afterlife, in order to get to the afterlife and like meet up with one another, you need sons to help you do that, if I'm explaining that correctly. And so you need sons. So sons are a big deal in this culture. Well, so because that curse has been put on the family, there's a whole family of girls, and everyone knows in their town that they are these cursed women. And basically This book is about them trying to break that curse. The mother of one of the mothers in this book, she decides to go to this witch, more so this fortune teller, and tries to figure out how to break this curse in her family. And the fortune teller tells her what she needs to do in order to break the curse and in order to get a son in their family. And that starts the entire story. This story is about a dysfunctional family of women. I would describe this book the most as Dow A for Aunties. I think this is a better Dow A for Aunties. But with that being said, I did only give the book 3 out of 5 stars, maybe 3.5 out of 5 stars. The biggest thing working against this book is the amount of characters that are in this book. We have so many POVs and so many characters. We're hearing from so many women in this family that it honestly gets confusing, and these women aren't really, like, they're not that different. So when you're getting every perspective and every background, it kind of all blurs together. It's a lot of fun. The aunties and the moms and stuff, they're really, really fun. The mess is really, really fun. The perfect word to describe this book is like messy fun. Like, you just get this messy, convoluted family, but it is just really hard to care because you kind of get the characters mixed up. I think if we took out about 3 characters, or maybe if we were just focusing on like one section of the family, this could have been a whole lot better, but it didn't fully hit the mark for me, so I am going to give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The last book that I read for this video is You're Invited, and this book is nothing like I expected. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's nothing like I expected. So we have a main character. She has been invited to a Sri Lankan wedding by her best friend, which is startling because she and her best friend have not talked in 5 years. She stalks her best friend on social media because her best friend has become very Instagram famous, very social media famous. So she stalks her best friend on Instagram, and she's really jealous of her, but they have no real connection anymore. They're not friends anymore, and they haven't talked in 5 years. But the biggest thing going on is her best friend is getting married to her ex-boyfriend, and the girl in here has some very bad blood with the ex-boyfriend, and she's like, I have to stop this wedding. We as the reader don't know why she feels like she needs to stop this wedding. Does she just want to stop it because she doesn't want her best friend, who she's jealous of, to marry her ex, or is there something deeper? So she sets out on this mission to stop the wedding. Well, when she gets there from the wedding, her best friend, who is the bride, she is presumed dead. Everyone believes that she is dead, and there is foul play involved, and that pretty much starts our story. What happened to the bride? Who was responsible? And all this, what are all the secrets that all these people at this wedding have? I am going to give this book 2 out of 5 stars, maybe leaning 3. I would give it 2 or 3 stars. This book did not work for me in many, many ways. It kind of has the Fortune of Jaded Women vibes. We have a lot of POVs. You're getting everyone's backstory to see how everyone is involved in the story, and some people's backstories are interesting. Some people's backstories are not. I did find it absolutely hilarious. The main character constantly has thoughts on like the best way to kill people. When she's jealous of someone, she comes up with ways, like the best way that they could die, she comes up in their head. And I found it really, really funny. There's parts of this book that are really, really funny. I just felt like I never was really grounded in the space. I could never really imagine what was going on. The characters weren't all that exciting. And I'm also going to blame myself for this. I do not like books like this. I do not like it when everyone is in one spot and one person is either missing or dead, and we have to figure out who it is, so we get everyone's backstory, everyone's sketchy, who did it. I do not like that. So I don't know why I keep picking up books like that. And I told you guys like why I don't like this. I've said it in several videos. I do not like that. Like, think about books like The Club, stuff like that, The Guest List. I don't ever like books like that. The only way that really works for me is in a detective sense. I like when a detective is trying to solve a murder where like one person is dead. I do like that. But if we're gonna get a bunch of people together on an island or on a vacation and people are dying, I need multiple people to die. I need like it to be like And Then There Were None style, but just one person being dead, a bunch of suspects, and we try to figure out what's the best. It just didn't work for me. Then when we do get to the end of this book of what's going on, that also doesn't really work for me. I did find this book a lot of fun, but outside of that, with just the meat of it, it didn't really work for me. So those are my thoughts. So you guys, for this video, this is the most I've ever read in a video, but this video I did take place over some weeks. I read 7 books for this video, and I wanted to see, is book of the month worth it for me? So let's go through. We have some books that I absolutely adore. We have some books that I really like. We have some books that I thought are fine. And we have some books that I just think are not good. I am going to add Killers of a Certain Age to this because although I didn't read it for this video, I did read it this month and it is book of the month. The winners of this video for me were The Lifestyle and When We Were Bright and Beautiful, especially When We Were Bright and Beautiful. I gave both of these books 5 stars. I really, really liked them. They're right up my alley. These are wins for me and wins for book of the month. I don't know if I would have actually purchased these books and read these books if I didn't get them in book of the month. This is a book I probably would have purchased and would have sat on my bookshelf for a while, and I didn't hear about this book until book of the month. So these are win, 5 out of 5 stars. I really like them. So there's that. Then we have a book that I really, really liked, and that is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. I, once again, probably would have got my hands on it without book of the month, but I'm really happy I just got it in book of the month. I read it, and I feel good about it. So we have a 4-star. Then we have some books that I think are pretty good. They're pretty good. You have The Fortunes of Jaded Women and Killers of a Certain Age. They're pretty good. I gave both about 3.5. Have nothing, you know, they're good. They're for good to find. Good to find. I liked them. And you know what? I don't regret picking them in a book of the month. I think getting a pretty good book out of book of the month is really good as a subscription box. So that's that. So far, we already have 5 books that, like, I recommend you should read, and I enjoyed reading. So we already are in a winner. Now we have 2 books that are just like not so good for me. Did not enjoy my reading. I called this book stupid in the clip, and I want to walk that back. That's really not a way to describe someone's hard work. I did think it was silly, but this book is written perfectly fine. It's easy to follow. I just found it to be clunky, but a lot of people do like this book. So if you found what my synopsis of it interesting, I would recommend you pick this up because people do like this book. I found the ending to be clunky. You're Invited has mixed reviews as well, and it just didn't work for me, but that's fine. I really love these covers, and that's really all I have to say about them. The only book that was just an overall dud for me was Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. We have a DNF. I never went back and read it, you guys. I stopped, I'm pretty sure like at the 40-50% mark. That's probably when I stopped reading it, and I probably won't go back and pick it up. But you'll have to find out like at the end of the month on a wrap up or something if I go back and pick it up. Because right now I'm actually not reading anything right now. So I could go ahead and finish it. It's just every time I think to do it, I read like a paragraph and it's just like, whoa. It's just like, whoa. So that begs the question, is book of the month worth it for me? The answer to that is 100% going to be yes. Book of the month is worth it for me. So much so that I have already started my book of the month subscription, but I think I'm going to do my book of the month subscription different this year. I'm not going to pay for it all in bulk. I'm going to pay monthly. And also what I've learned from this is that it doesn't make any sense for me to just pick a book to pick a book. If there's something there that I'm interested in that I already had my eye on, or the synopsis really grabs me, that's the only reason why I should pick a book. If I'm not just gonna pick a book because I just want to get a nice blue box in the mail, I should pick it because either I already wanted to buy it or the synopsis is really screaming at me. If not, I should just roll over my credits and wait for a month where there's like multiple books that I want to get and use my credits for that. But book of the month is something I can really put into my life. Like I said, if you're someone who has a really long TBR like me, maybe you don't, because it did take me all year to get these books. I wasn't pressed to get to any of these, so it would be hard. But I think if you are someone who doesn't really have a library in your home and you just like to have one book that you can read a month, book of the month would really be good for that. I think that it would be a whole lot of fun. And don't underestimate how fun it is to go in there and pick out your book. It is a whole lot of fucking fun. So you know what? I think Book of the Month, this turned out a lot better than I expected, because I 100% expected to be like, nah, Book of the Month ain't worth the money. Book of the Month ain't worth the money. But like for 100 and whatever I put at the beginning, I paid for it. I got what, 5 books? I got 5 books that I think are good books. And then I also have 4 books I did not read that I picked out, and like those books could be perfectly good. I just can't get to them, and I think they were impulse buys. But the big thing I would say is, the only con, don't impulse pick anything. Don't pick anything out of impulse, or pick anything because you feel like you have to pick it, because you will 100% waste your time. But that's the Book of the Month video. You tell me if you've gotten Book of the Month and gotten your money out of it. Give each other, you know, some pointers in the comments of how you should do it. And I'm excited. January, I will, full disclosure, I skipped January. I did not want any of the books in the January pick. I think I'm going to use my January credit for next month in February to get Babbel. And I'm gonna use the credit to add Babbel and an add-on, because you can add Babbel. You can go, like I said, you can go back and pick books from other months. So I'm gonna add Babbel and an add-on, and then hopefully there's a book in February that I want to add to this. So anyways, that is the end of this video. I will see you guys in the next one.